Hello everyone, my name is Alison Miller and I'm sitting down to speak with Oxford Township Clerk Mr. Curtis Wright. Mr. Wright, how are you today?
I'm tremendous, thank you for having me.
Of course, it's great to have you. Now, as we're approaching the August 6th primary election, we're also coming up on the beginning of the early voting period, something completely new to Michigan voters this year. Mr. Wright, can you explain why Michigan's voters now have the chance to vote before Election Day?
Well, in 2022, the electorate chose to approve a 9-day early voting period for the residents of Michigan that are registered to vote. So now with that change in the Constitution, the voters are now able to go ahead and cast their vote before Election Day. So that's a 9-day early voting period. It starts on July 27th, this Saturday. It'll run through Sunday, August 4th, 2 days before the election. The hours to early vote is from 8:30 in the morning to 4:30 in the afternoon. And then on Thursday, August 1st, you'll have the ability to vote from 12 o'clock till I think it's 8 o'clock in the morning. So there's a lot of options there if you choose to vote early, and that way you will avoid the Election Day lines on Election Day in your particular precinct.
Got it. And this was a change that just happened to Michigan's Constitution in particular?
Yeah, for Michigan itself, yes. There's several other states that do have the early voting, and the Michigan voters thought it was a good idea for them to have this option to early vote. So that's something that they now have an option to do.
Absolutely.
So that's something that, the early voting site is located down in Orion Township. We did a consortium agreement with Orion, Addison, and Oxford Township through Oakland County. So Oakland County Clerk Lisa Brown approved to have consolidated early voting sites, and Orion was gracious enough to open their facility up to allow for the early voting sites. So if people from Oxford want to go and vote early, they'll have to go to the Orion Township Hall to do that.
I see. So those sites are going to be different than the sites that will be available on actual Election Day.
Basically, it's one site in particular. Basically gives you two options. You can early vote at the Orion site, or you can come to your precinct in Oxford where you normally vote in person on Election Day.
Okay.
So, and I'll just note too that there's a centralized early voting site at Waterford Oaks in Oakland County. So there's actually two sites you can go to get the ballot early voted if you so choose. Mm-hmm. So if you work down in Waterford and you want an early vote and you're an Oxford resident, there's your option to do that. You need to be, number one, you need to be a registered voter. So that's something that it's a given like that. And if you're not registered and you want to early vote, you'll have to come to the Oxford Township office and get registered. And you can also register online too. So there's you cannot now. Let me back that up. You'll have to register in person. You cannot register by mail. Mm-hmm. There's a 15-day window before you can actually vote by mail.
I see.
Yeah.
Got it. Mm-hmm. So for those who still need to register to vote, they need to do it in person?
Yes. Okay. That deadline was Monday, the 22nd.
Okay. Got it. And so Michigan is actually one of the last states in the nation to offer in-person voting. And there are a set of questions that can come with the change. For voters that are a little bit confused or maybe curious, what do they need to know about the process?
Well, for the most part, the process is the same as if you're voting in person. When you go to the early voting site, you'll fill out an application to vote, which is this here. I don't know if you can see that on camera. Mm-hmm. And usually you'll provide a picture ID, usually your driver's license. And if you don't have one, you'll sign the back of an affidavit that you're not in possession of an ID. Mm-hmm. So you'll fill this out at the poll, and then you'll go down the process. What we use in Michigan is called the electronic poll book, and that poll book is basically the Bible of all registered voters of Oxford in this case for us. So each precinct is separated out by jurisdiction boundary lines, and there's a limit on how many voters can be in a precinct. That's why we have, I won't say so many, we have 7 precincts. But anyway, you'll be looked up in the electronic poll book, and once you're confirmed that you are a registered voter, then you'll be checked in, and then you'll be issued your ballot, and then you go ahead and cast your ballot. When you cast your ballot, fill it out in the voting booth there. And when you're done, your ballot will be in a secrecy sleeve. Here's a sample ballot for the August election here. So this will be in a big secrecy sleeve so nobody else sees it but you, the voter. The election inspector will tear the stub off. They won't open up your secrecy sleeve with your ballot in it. They'll hand it back to you. You'll take your ballot, insert it into the tabulator, and it'll tabulate your ballot as if you're voting right at your basic precinct on election day. And the process is completed. And then once your ballot tabulates correctly, you'll see a nice American flag pop up. Thank you for your ballot. No words to that effect. So basically no change except for location. Process basically is the same.
Okay, and then when it comes to counting the ballots after they've been cast, do early voting ballots go into the same pool as the regular ballots, or are they counted separately?
Yeah, what they'll do is because there's so many jurisdictions in Orion, Oxford, Addison in this case, the system knows to separate it because it's programmed. There's like barcodes on the side of the ballots. It's programmed to actually separate it through the computer system. So the ballots will go into a ballot bin after they're tabulated, and they'll be separated out at night, and they'll be secured overnight during that case. And then these ballots, they're tabulated, but they're not counted until election day.
I see.
So there's no knowing how many people got voted for it in that given day. That's just a secure feature that won't be revealed until all ballots are counted.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just more of a convenience now for the voter. It gives you 9 days of option of what day you'd like to go vote. One thing too is that if you request an absentee voter ballot, and you have that, you can bring that absent voter ballot and actually submit it yourself into the tabulator.
Oh, I see.
So what would happen is that you'd bring your ballot to the polling place, early voting place, and then you would actually get checked in with your ballot to confirm that your ballot is in the system there, and then they'll make the note in the poll book that the voter voted absent voter ballot in person. So there's another option. Now, why you do that, I don't know, but people like to know that their absent voter ballot went through and got tabulated. That's probably one of the big reasons.
Right. And Michigan's voters have been able to submit absentee ballots since 2018, and so now with the early voting, there's a lot of different options circulating for people who are interested in voting.
There is.
And so what will it look like for voters who have who want to or have requested an absentee ballot this year? I know you talked about that change that was made to being able to submit in person. Are there any other absentee ballot changes that you know of?
Well, as people are aware now that you don't need a reason to request an absent voter ballot. So you can come into our county, I'll give you an absent voter ballot. So we will as long as you're registered, then we'll issue that absent voter ballot for you. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. You'll get an application if you're not on a permanent absent voter list. And one change too that's happened is now you only need to apply for an absent voter ballot one time if you'd like a ballot for each future election. Because when you do the application on there, you'll indicate just with a check of a box, I'd like an absent voter ballot for each future election. So that's something there that the absent voter ballot process is. Fill out application if you're not on the permanent ballot list. Ballot is issued, and then it's up to you to vote it and return it to us. So it's a pretty simple process actually. Before it went to no reason, there was like 6 items that you had to check, and a lot of people were checking. I expect to be absent from my polling location from which I vote during election day, which a lot of people just wanted the ballot versus the 13-hour window that you actually have time to vote, and just figure for the convenience. So we as the state just shortened up the process of saying, just give people a ballot. We want you to vote.
Got it.
Yeah.
And then for those who are still interested in absent voter ballots for this upcoming election, at this point, do they need to come in person to request that, or is it still available online?
They can get it. They can get absent voter ballot by mail. They can come in the office and get one, a ballot that is, and that's up until 5 o'clock Friday before the election, which would be August 2nd, I believe, that we can send them out by mail.
Okay.
It's drawn because the mail system, for good or bad, sometimes doesn't deliver the product until after the fact, so that's why it's cut off there. After that, you'll have to request one in person at the clerk's office. You can get one up until 4 o'clock on Monday prior to the election, which is August 5th, but you'll have to vote that ballot in the office. So basically, we can mail you an absent voter ballot as long as you qualify to get that, and you can come in person and get one.
Great, thank you. And so with so many different options for voting now circulating, what security processes are they changing? What security processes are in place now?
Yeah, there's a lot of security that's in place now to get it from issuance to actual counting and actually getting it confirmed. Number one is that for our tabulators, we do what's called a public accuracy testing. So we have a third-party company come in and actually test all of our tabulators. Where you feed your ballot into the tabulator itself. So they're checking it from an independent standpoint, whereas a lot of clerks do that work on their own, but I've got a supportive board that allows us to fund that third party to come in and actually do an independent audit and confirmation that your tabulators are secure, they're safe, they're going to read accurately, they're going to give the results accurately. Also, we have the electronic poll book. Electronic poll book is and I call it the Bible because it has every one of the registered voters in that system. So that's going to confirm checking your signature on your absent voter ballot application, your absent voter ballot envelope that comes back to make sure that you're the one who signed the ballot and not somebody else in your household, for example. So that's another check and balance. Another check and balance is that with our absent voter ballots that come back, we secure those on a daily basis. We balance them on a daily basis to make sure that what's went out, what's come in, what's outstanding. So we have a record of those. We store those at night secured under lock and key, and also we have security cameras in the office that make sure that movement, if there's anything happening, whether it's after hours or something, somebody's in that department that shouldn't be, that's all monitored itself. And then after that, once the ballots or the election's completed, you have the Board of Canvassers, in this case from Oakland County, going through, checking the totals of the votes that were cast versus the ballots that are submitted to make sure that those all balance out. So there's no discrepancy in the numbers. And then from there, security is then it's the State Board of Canvassers, so the final deciding factor on the election is complete, secure, accurate, transparent, so that everything is on the up and up, so to speak, so that everything people can be rest assured that everything was done correctly. That's some of the integrity that we hold in our department very high, that we want things to go well, and we want everybody to have confidence that we're doing the right thing for them.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so there's a lot of check and balance before it gets to actual results that are confirmed or certified. But the security is very safe on that. So if anybody has any questions or wants to further see what's going on, that's why they call it the public accuracy test, backing up, because it's posted that the public can come in and actually see a testing of the tabulator with all ballots in there. For this election, I think we fed 30 different ballots styles that could come in, meaning whether it was somebody overvoted a race, somebody undervoted the race, somebody crossed their ticket in the primary election, somebody put a stray mark on the ballot, somebody got issued a ballot from the wrong precinct. So every little possibility that could happen was tested to make sure that the machine was going to read that correctly. So if you were issued, in this case, this is a precinct 2 ballot, and you go to precinct 3 with this and hand it in, and with that testing, that tabulator is going to kick it out, say wrong precinct or worse to that effect. So the security is very tight, in my opinion.
Wow. Yeah. It seems that way.
Yeah.
And just to end off, what types of things are Oxford voters looking at for this upcoming election?
This election?
Yes.
Yeah, so I brought a sample ballot here. It's a two-sided ballot, so this is what the voters are going to see for the most part. I know it's small, but for the most part, you're going to see this is the primary election. What this does is you're going to see races on both sides, Democrat and Republican, and this is the process to narrow the field for the November election down to one candidate on each party in this case. There are other parties on the ballot, independent party, or not independent, but U.S. Taxpayers, Green Party, a few other parties that are on there. For the most part, though, it's Democrat and Republican that face off in the election. So this will narrow that down to two candidates, one from each side. And in this case, you have to vote one side of the ticket or the other. You have to vote straight Republican or straight Democrat. Once you cross the party lines on this, your ballot will be kicked out and rejected. The other items on there, you'll see some judicial races on there. You'll see the local races on there as well, but the local races are also partisan here. In this case, the Parks and Rec. And then there's a proposal in the township proper for the police millage. The police millage is expiring, so that's being requested for a renewal on the police millage for that. So that's what the voters are going to be looking at for the August election here coming up in 2 weeks from yesterday.
Got it. Thank you.
So it's right around the corner, and then from there we catch our breath a little bit, and then we gear up for the November election, which is pretty intense.
Right, absolutely. I'm sure
Yeah,
the office has to do a lot of preparation for that.
Yeah. So I guess other things is that if you're not registered, you can register online. Here's a registration form, what that looks like as well. You can come in person and register to vote. So if you want to early vote and you're not registered, you can come and do that. We have forms at our office for the early voting, a little bit of just a summary of what it is there. And that gives you some idea of how the early voting options are out there. And there's questions, you can call our office if you have any questions. So I guess with that, I mean, if there's any more you want me to talk about, I'm happy to do so.
No, absolutely. Thank you so much for talking to me today. Are there any other tips or information that you have for Oxford's voters?
I would say that with the options that we have now in place, whether you early vote, whether you vote absent voter ballot or vote in person, you have not too many excuses not to vote. So with that, that option's yours, but it's good to exercise your vote to see if your candidate wins. Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you so much for speaking with me today, and I appreciate you coming out here to the studio.
You're very welcome. Appreciate it. Thank you too.
Yeah, of course. And for Oxford Community Television, I'm Alison Miller.